All right, today we're gabbing with Ashley Darby, OG of The Real Housewives of Potomac. Ashley and I go way back to season one, so it's always good to see Ashley's face. Ashley, thanks for being here. We're on the heels of the season finale. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm very good, Gibson. I know I think it was the days when you were at AOL, right? In the AOL building?
Yes.
Is that where you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Good
Yeah.
times.
Good times. I
Yes.
remember doing a little group phone call. I think it was you, Giselle, and Charisse, like literally before season one even aired. So like it really is the early days.
Yes, yes. Good days, good
Yes.
days.
So how are you feeling overall about this season? We're nearly there. This is going to air after the finale airs. So how are you feeling about season nine overall?
Season nine, first, I'm just really thankful that we even have reached 9 seasons. I don't think any of us in our wildest dreams when we started this would ever have imagined that we'd be here. We always
Right.
believed in ourselves, but it's just really amazing to be able to share our lives at this point for so long. I will say that the season was interesting because usually around this point we start to kind of like slow down. You know, this season, absolutely not. Up until the very end, Gibson, and I mean the very last second of this season, there is something that had my jaw on the floor.
Wow.
And I didn't think it was possible, but boy howdy, it
Okay.
came through.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was going to say, I feel like the season started out so strong. We had all this new blood, and then it became a lot about like the Mia and Gordon and all of it
Hmm.
all. And I felt like that was where a lot of the focus was. But all of a sudden, the past episode or two, especially this heel turn from Stacy, where we're kind of seeing her mix it up a little bit more. I'm like, whoa, like we're going there, and we have 2 episodes left, and I'm like, I want 5 episodes left.
Oh my gosh, I know. We probably could have 5 more episodes if I'm honest.
uh,
I really appreciated the way that Stacy really started to open up because in the
yeah,
beginning of the season, I was just not really sure if she was cut out for this, to be honest. Obviously, when we come on this platform, there's an expectation, and I respect that of being open about who you are and really showing people who you are. And I felt like Stacy was just like being really cookie cutter,
mm.
QVC, just like, girl, loosen up a little, put a little WD on the joints and let's get it popping. And so I think she finally got there. And it's a really interesting thing to see, especially again, until the very last
Okay.
moment of the season.
Yeah, so she's involved in
Yes.
whatever happens at the end. Um,
Maybe.
yeah, well, I think it was interesting as a viewer because it made sense that some of the QVC stuff was sort of lingering in her because that was how she was on TV before, right? And it's very different from how you guys have been on for almost a decade. So like it's been fun to sort of watch her shed that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's been really rewarding, I think. So I'm glad to hear that you see that as well.
Hmm.
Um, so we saw a clip of you and your lawyer talking on a recent episode, and she was kind of like, "Let's get the show on the road. Let's get this wrapped up." Like, you know what I mean? And you're aligned in that. And you said on Watch What Happens Live that everything's sort of in the hands of the court. You're done. Is that First of all, I'm very happy for you because
Thank you.
it's been a very long journey, obviously. Um, is that sort of where it still stands? That was a couple weeks ago. We're just sort of waiting it out.
Yeah, I actually have a big day coming up
Okay.
uh, in the middle of February. So that will really be a defining moment. And hopefully, after that big moment that I have to actually go to the courthouse, all will be said and done.
Fingers
One
crossed.
more thing I have to show up for.
Yeah.
So hopefully, after that's done, we can just sign and deliver it. I will say that it's just been, I know it's kind of taken me a while. And I really thought that once I started this process back in 2022, so weird to
Wow.
say, that I would just be like, okay, I'm ready. But I didn't realize just how emotionally and mentally attached I was to my marriage, to the
Hmm.
idea of marriage, to the concept of marriage. My identity was just so much a part of being a wife. And so I really had to shed that. And it didn't, I wish it was quicker, but
Of course.
it surprised me. I surprised myself with how much I really had to dig deep and really rely on my friends, my
Hmm.
family to really help pull me to this point. And my lawyer, my little firecracker of a lawyer,
Yeah, she seems great,
Maria. Yeah,
honestly.
no, she
Yeah.
don't play no games. Okay. She's literally
Yeah.
5 feet with heels on. And I mean, she is just ready for it all the time. So it was
Yeah.
really good having those people in my corner.
Yeah. And I also, it was frustrating again as somebody who's been watching it for so long. to hear about sort of the one of the hangups in your and Michael's back and forth was like this clause that he wanted you to basically not be able to talk about your relationship and all this kind of stuff. And in a normal circumstance, I think that's still kind of a shitty thing. But with your line of work, which is being on reality TV and talking about your life, I was sort of like, okay, but you're trying to hinder Ashley's career here, and
Right.
that's what I thought found very frustrating from what we've learned this season about what's going on. Did Where did that net out? Are you allowed to talk about where that aspect of it netted out, or did you hold off on that?
Um, we actually found really good common ground with
Okay,
that,
good.
mostly in relation to he's the father of my children,
Yeah,
and my kids are the bulk of my life. So it's impossible for me to continue to
exactly.
do this and talk about such a big part of my life without talking about him to some degree. Now, he doesn't, we actually, I probably shouldn't say this, but, he didn't like something I said recently in an interview or something. So, like, we're still
Okay.
figuring out, I don't even know what I said, but he was like, you talked about me. And I was like, oh, okay.
Uh,
So, I'm
but
trying
it
to just
happens. It's
like,
very natural. Yeah.
I know, but not everyone has the best experience on this platform
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I'm
yes.
glad that you said that you've gotten more to a point of co-parenting versus parallel parenting. We're clearly making strides, and that's all that matters, really. So I'm happy to hear that it's mostly positive updates, and that's all you can really
It
ask for.
is.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about like, I feel like I can actually start dating again and like really allow someone into my life and potentially meet my kids, and that's just such a weird, it's another obstacle that I
Yeah.
didn't know when I'd be ready for, but I feel more ready to approach that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean that things with Josh are still kind of really casual? Because
Oh, Josh. Josh is pretty great, I will
okay.
say. We definitely cooled down a little bit from like when we were filming the season. So we met in June. We're
Uh-huh.
filming the season all July. Obviously, 4th of July, we were in Panama and we were hot and heavy, Gibson. I mean, it was like full on. Just this really nice honeymoon phase. And then,
Yeah.
life sort of creeps in a little bit and naturally sort of it dissipates. But I will give credit to Josh that he is very intentional and he makes every effort and commitment to still show me that he wants to be together. So we'll just
Okay.
see where that goes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that you guys have a really, from what we've seen, a very flirty, fun dynamic. Like it makes sense to me, honestly, watching the few clips that we've seen of you two together. So I'm here
Yeah.
for it. I'm
He's
here
a
for
good
it.
guy. He's a good egg.
Yeah. Well, Josh and the conversation around him caused a little bit of drama between you and Wendy recently on Watch What Happens Live.
Mhm.
Um, she had made a comment about him being like Jack Harlow. You said that she can suck it, and then she recently kind of went in about that, your response to that. So it's been this sort of back and forth. She used some big words: deplorable, lack of thought process. She called him a rented boyfriend. What's your
Yeah.
response to how Wendy spoke about that on Watch What Happens Live last week?
It was a little surprising to me that Wendy said those comments in the first place that she said in her confessional because that's not the energy that Wendy was saying to me to my face. And for someone who I consider to be my friend, I would
Yeah.
really think if you really thought like, oh, this guy really isn't of the caliber or whatever, then maybe you'd say that. But to save that for the confessional chair, it really showed me that Wendy is two-faced. And so I didn't appreciate that at all. Like if you really felt that, you'd stand 10 toes on that and be like, girl, you if you want to say this is a lateral move or whatever she said, then just be a woman and say it to me. So I was just really it pissed me off. I actually didn't even watch her Watch It Happens Live episode. I didn't really care to see it. Of course, I heard that she talked about me, called Josh a rented boyfriend. There are some other conversations that Wendy and I have had where she brings up things that her husband has been involved in to try to like justify her talking about Josh. They're apples and oranges, things that she really has no justification to say. And also the fact that she doesn't even know Josh, she doesn't know his story, who he is, what he represents, and he's new to this platform. He doesn't know any of
Right.
this, and you just go in on him like that's low hanging fruit, and that's really stupid of you. Be
Mm.
real. You're an
And you
intelligent woman.
Right, and you guys had just filmed the reunion. Was that energy at the reunion at all, either between you two, or was it okay, or was it
Oh, that kind
okay?
of stuff just doesn't go away.
Yeah, got
Yes.
it. Okay, okay. Um, I want to circle a little bit back to sort of what we're seeing play out a little bit at the end of the season with the Stacy of it all. And she basically is claiming that Karen said some stuff about Wendy before filming started or right as filming was started. Like,
Uh-huh.
do you believe that Karen said these things about Wendy? Okay, we're getting a
Absolutely.
nod.
There's no doubt that Karen got a little loose lip with Stacy and just spilled all the beans because I've seen Karen in that form. So
Okay.
I know what happened.
Okay. And obviously that complicates a lot of Karen and Wendy's dynamic too, because they had gotten to a pretty close place, it seemed.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising to hear that, mainly because I hadn't really heard that. There have been some talk, like in the previous seasons, of Karen just like saying little things about Wendy, but
Right.
nothing to the degree of what Stacy says that
Hmm.
Karen said. So it was shocking.
Hmm. What is your friendship like with Stacy? Like, how would you characterize it or describe your relationship?
Um, it's a little complicated.
Okay.
Uh, I like her a lot as a person, and I think she's very beautiful. And our kids love hanging out and playing, so that's really nice. And we have a lot in common. I think starting out, as I said
Yeah.
earlier, I
Uh-huh.
was a little unsure of her, and I was about
Uh-huh.
to be like, "Girl, you got to get the step in." But now that she's really blossoming and opening up, I fools with her now. She could be on my team.
I feel like the newbies kind of had a little bit of heat for you at the beginning of this season, kind of as a group. They were I don't know, I
They
feel like
always do.
yeah, why is that?
I think because people have been fans of the show and they've watched the show and they probably sit on their couch and they're like, "This is what I would say to Ashley," da 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 da, right? And so then the big moment comes and they're like actually in front of me and they're like, "Oh yeah, now's my moment." And usually it falls flat, but at least they're. I love that they watch the show. That's great.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Ashley, you're so funny.
Everybody I
Um,
know, they're like, "Oh, Ashley," like they just get up these scenarios in their mind
right,
and
I
then
get it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned like I feel like again, sort of midway through the season. I mean, we've talked about Mia and Gordon and kind of all season, but it became a lot about that sort of in this back half. And I feel like in Watch What Happens Live appearances and interviews that I've seen, you and Giselle and a few others kind of feel a little bit frustrated by sort of Mia saying different stories on different platforms at different times, sort of about what's really going on in that situation. Does the reunion bring any clarity for you, or sort of where do you stand right now on what's going on there?
Well, Mia was recently on Watch What Happens Live, where,
Yep.
even Quad had to get it together.
Oh yeah,
And
that was a good appearance. Hmm.
I just think that we're all on this emotional roller coaster, and it gets old because one thing about us, and I think the reason that we have had longevity is because there's genuine friendship.
Yeah.
There's a genuine sense of caring, especially because I can relate to some of the stuff that Mia has said about her past relationship, and so can Giselle, right? And so then when we all get vulnerable with you and we like feel for you, and we, as mothers too, we like take on your emotion just for you to be like, JK, it's like,
Right.
oh, like what is happening here? It feels like we're all being gaslit all the time. And I can only do that but so much, And I have
Hmm.
a very big heart, especially for Mia, because what I know about her and her past, and even I have to throw in the towel.
And that's saying something.
It is because that takes a lot for me to get there. A
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah. And I also feel like, again, for you, for some of you guys, the OGs who are still around, you helped build the show. And I do think, I mean, just as a longtime fan, it's also frustrating to feel like you're not getting the full, complete, truthful story sometimes when it comes to something like this. And I feel like we have gotten that from you guys for the past 9 years. And so that's a frustration just that I have. I can just speak for myself, you know?
Yeah, and a word that comes to mind is strategy and feeling like there is some sort of strategic element to how she's conducting our real genuine friendship. That just feels very misleading. Feels like we're all being duped.
Hmm. So the reunion, I feel like there's been a few pretty good teases of this reunion. One is that Andy says, I think when Wendy was on, he said that somebody brings a really unexpected receipt very late in the game.
Woo!
It got speculation going really instantly, honestly, over what this possibly
Yes.
is.
I don't
What
think
can you say
anyone,
about it?
no one, Gibson, not you, not me, no one, none of us could have anticipated what came out at the very last hour of the reunion.
And
The
it's a,
very last hour. You know, we have long days.
yeah.
And collectively, in the whole studio, there was like a gasp, collective gasp.
I like don't know what to say. So it's a receipt.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
receipt. A surprising thing, like, you know, like, of course, we have things that we all expect a little bit to talk
Yeah.
about, like Mia or Wendy or me or whatever. Things that, this one, no one could have anticipated.
So I'm guessing it's somebody having a receipt about somebody who you wouldn't expect them to be against or sort of have a problem with. Okay.
Yes, yes. That
Okay.
is actually a very accurate assessment.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. I'm
Yep.
can't wait for that teaser trailer to come out for the reunion, Ashley.
I know, me too.
Yeah. And then the other sort of thing that we know is that Karen's not there, of course. She was seeking treatment for things, and Andy has said that she sort of makes some sort of quasi appearance, which I'm assuming is maybe like via video or something. What kind of presence does Karen and what went on with her this season play at the reunion despite her not being there?
I think it just sort of maintains what really did happen, which was we all just kind of skirted around it because Karen herself has never been there, whether on camera on the show or at the reunion in person to actually address it.
Hmm.
So similar to how we sort of like have to talk about it,
Uh-huh.
again, we don't really get the opportunity to talk to Karen. And it's a frustrating thing. It's very frustrating because for the whole time that we filmed, we're all thinking like Karen knows what's going on. She knows what she's doing. She keeps using this word, I think, vindicated.
Yep.
And for the ending to be so climactic and anticlimactic at the same time is like, you know, what the hell?
Hmm. Hmm. And I think that there's this, I think it was when the news broke, it was sort of like this, I think this sort of tension between like wanting to be really happy that she's seeking treatment and getting help. And also like she didn't have to go, she wasn't at the reunion because she was seeking treatment. I think some people said it was like sort of the timing was interesting and convenient because,
Of course, yes.
right? Like, that must have gone through your head as well.
Yes. Well, I mean, we have all wanted Karen to get help for a very long time. So that is a good thing. We're all very happy about that.
Yeah,
There's like a sigh of relief that
of
she's
course.
doing that. But yeah, at the same time, this happened, what, a year ago?
Hmm.
So now
Yeah,
is the time. It was
yeah,
actually over a year. It'll be a year next month.
right, right.
So, you know, there's a lot of time in that space where we could have gotten some
Absolutely.
help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I, and your reaction on Watch What Happens Live to sort of the footage that came out around the holidays and things like that, it reflected, I think, a lot of people's response to it, which was like, well, I thought we were getting a vindication here. I thought that she knew what happened and it kind of just went against that, and I guess we'll all just kind of wait and see. But I think that like, I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing the cast thoughts, I think, on what we've seen since then, even if Karen is not there to speak about it.
Yes, well, you know, one thing we don't do is shy away from an
Yeah,
issue. So
exactly. How do you think? I mean, obviously the sentencing is up in the air. That was just recently pushed back. How do you think or hope the show proceeds in the wake of this uncertainty around Karen?
that's a very interesting question. And one thing I've learned, especially because so many of us housewives have gone through similar things, I've watched the journeys of other ladies who have gone through this difficult time and come out on the other side. So, really, I'm just optimistic that Karen will really be able to take accountability, but also be able to show that this isn't, I don't want this to define her as a person, and I don't want this to define our show. So, however, Karen seeks the help that she needs and does whatever internal work she needs to do, that ultimately she really shows that she's had some growth in the end.
That's really well said, and I totally agree with that. Last thing, Ashley, is there any one more thing about the reunion you can tease? Obviously, we know about the 11th hour. Something happens. What else
Yes,
about the reunion
literally
kind
the
of will
11th
get
hour.
people really excited for this?
Um, I will say that the day, you know how usually there's like a formula for the reunion, right? Like there's a little
Yeah. Yeah,
formula.
yeah. A run a show, if you
All
will.
that went out the window. It
Oh,
all went out the window. There's a lot of movement going on, special appearances that happened, unexplained, unanticipated appearances that happened. Like whatever we typically do in a reunion is like that just went out the window. And it was just a whole new different day. It was a very different day.
okay. A special appearance. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Now we're doing guest stars. It's not Nicki Minaj this time, though, I'm guessing.
Oh, I cannot confirm or deny.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Well, Ashley, that's all the time we have. I am so happy that I got some time with you before the season ended. And again, just let's keep this run going. I don't, I
Yes.
love the Potomac ladies. So thanks
We
so much
love
for
you
your
too,
time. I
Gibson.
appreciate it. I want to gab.